Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another Wolfram Language Design Review. This is about DiffTools. Okay, so what am I doing here?
So we are in the process of integrating DiffTools into the layout. It's in prototype builds right now, and I think probably in tonight's builds it should
Should I
be in.
just run this?
Sure, yes. So this is an updated version of the Notebook Diff report.
Do we have people
Um,
from graphic design in this meeting?
Billy is here. Yes.
Okay.
So the old one was pretty rough. There are probably some ways in which this could be cleaned up too, but it's significantly better.
I don't
Um,
understand what's on the X and Y axis here. Is this a wraparound?
oh, that's a wraparound. Yeah.
I think that if we're going to indicate that, we should have horizontal separators. You understand what I'm saying? You should have
Yes.
horizontal lines here.
Yes. I mean, should we just frame everything or just horizontally?
No,
What
I
do you
think it's
think?
not clear which way around it reads if you do that.
Okay.
I don't understand. Are these colors blue
Unless the vertical lines are lighter than the horizontal lines, that could be
yeah,
done.
but I think that a really long notebook, it's going to look terrible here. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The horizontals we can do, but the verticals we cannot. Now let's talk colors. Why is blue the color of editing?
Yeah, we talked about this last time,
And what
and
about
it's
deletion, by the way?
deletion. Sorry, it doesn't show up here, but you'll see it in other examples. Deletion is kind of a pinkish red. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And the red and green,
There's no
you
mouse
know,
over here,
no mouse over.
although it could be just these things here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What does this mean? Text emphasis note.
That's the name of the cell style that was edited. It could just say cell edited, but having the
No, I
text
think it's nice to have some
style.
kind of information about what kind of a cell it
Text
was.
emphasis note is just a weird style in a
Yeah, I understand
documentation
this
notebook
particular
that,
case.
yeah.
But then it says two cells. What the hell is this? No, absolutely not. Get rid of that. Absolutely
Well,
not.
maybe it should be closed by default. I don't think we should get rid of it.
Yeah, okay, well, fine.
But if it were closed by default, yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely should not be open by default. It's completely obscure.
Okay.
Let's keep going here. I mean, I'm looking at more things here. I don't think this is perfect. I don't think this is, what is this? What is more details?
It's showing a string diff of the cell expressions for people.
Then why don't you say that? Because more details, unless there are other more details in other cases,
Sure.
it's not really helping us.
Sure.
Well, there is a question whether that's should be even included in the report. It might be too confusing for most people to be included, and unless maybe by an option or something like that.
Yeah, I don't really see it. Now, is this always a single cell that's here?
If it's edited, yes. If it's inserted or deleted, it might be a run of cells.
Okay, but you could say old cell, new cell, or old version, new version.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, I would have thought that a colon at the end of this would be useful to indicate that it is, the thing below.
Colon instead of the word version, or in addition to the word version?
Yeah, it's probably instead of the word version.
Okay.
Why is this font look so wrong?
This is an issue that this particular notebook is in a different style sheet, and we can't kind of mix up
Okay, but
style
this
sheets
is
internally.
a repeated issue that things from documentation have these crazy large literals in them. And I've seen this many, many, many times, and I'm wondering if we just fix it once and for all.
That particular thing, yes, it could be fixed.
Let's fix it then.
I mean,
Because
there
I've
are
seen it so many times.
there are a zillion other things that one might complain about, but if that one is particularly bothersome, yes, we could deal with that.
Now, when you bring up diff here, so you say report,
Yeah.
I see, that's popping this notebook, which I guess is okay. What's it going to do in the cloud?
I I don't know if something like report is viable in the cloud.
Well, it just notebook puts the result, and so if notebook put works,
Does that
and I'm
work?
pretty sure it does work on cloud.
Oh, okay, I stand corrected.
But then what will this be? Will it be a new notebook that overlays the previous one and a new tab or something? Or what's the deal?
Um, I think it will appear as a over the original, over the current page, as sort of a lightbox effect, the same way that dialogues do, the same way that message details do on cloud, for instance, the stack trace message details.
Oh, I see. One of those things. Yeah, okay. Well, okay, fine. It's a bit long for one of those, but I guess it's not
But if you
terrible.
delete report, then that will, just use the two argument form of diff that returns an output, and that output looks and works on cloud the same way it does.
Okay, next question. If I do this on much bigger files, is it going to work okay?
Within reason.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's hundreds of megabytes, then it's going, and if the if the diffs are significant, yes, it could take some real computational
Oh, look
effort.
at that thing. That's interesting.
I'm not so sure this is interesting. The unified markers and one of the other formats I was thinking about getting rid of because they're a little bit whimsical.
I don't know.
Unified markers and side-by-side markers I thought were a little odd.
I'm not horrified by this. I think it's somewhat useful. Although side by side, you should ask DQA, but I'm pretty sure that's hyphenated in that case.
Okay.
There's a lot of useful stuff here.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the heck is that?
This is in the notebook case, this is really only useful to people who understand how to read cell expressions. If this were
Well,
not a notebook diff, if this were plain text or expressions, this would make a little bit more
okay,
sense.
but then you got to call it something different.
But then we
Expression.
lose the consistency across all diffs.
It's not going to work to have it say minimal for notebooks and have it produce this garbage.
What if the cells were rendered rather than raw text?
Much better.
Okay.
I mean, this just looks terrible. Details can be anything you want. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
One day it will be nice to change the particularly when it's all more efficient, to change the cell change times to data objects. I think we just made
Well,
data objects much more efficient in 14.1.
I mean, we have the tooling, so there's not really any need to do that anymore. I mean, we have the tooling to be able to read in and process cell
Well,
change
okay, fine,
times.
but I mean, then in these in the rendering here, we should render it as data objects because it's useless and incomprehensible otherwise. See what I'm saying?
No, I strongly disagree with that. I mean, if you're actually using this as, a diffing tool and a Git workflow, then you want to see what's actually going to be serialized on disk.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at these other things. Then I really want to come back to
by the way, click one of the arrows there.
which arrows here?
No, on the, there you go.
What the heck did that do?
So that actually opened the two files. If the files had already been open, it just would have, scrolled them to the appropriate location. But now your DocuTools pane is covering up the right-hand side, but it selected the cell there and indicated, if you look below the DocuTools palette, it indicated
I see. That's nice.
Yeah.
I think this should also use the new flashing mechanism that we built for percent modernization, but I don't yet know how to
By the way,
use
why are these
that.
notebooks so wide? Were they intrinsically wide when they were saved? Or
No, they were tiled by that button.
Yeah, I don't think it should be. I think they should be put together by the button, but I just don't think, some people have really mega wide screens and it would be absurd. Like, people have these kind of like wraparound trader desk type
Can they
screens.
be tiled but up to
So-
a maximum?
Yeah, so if we tiled to your monitor width, but to a maximum width of, I don't know,
I think that would be the right thing. Yeah,
1200,
based on the
say 1200 points or something, or 1000 points or something.
yeah, but I mean, do we know the intrinsic size of those notebooks?
Yes, we do, but
Then
if
why don't we just tile it? Why don't we just have those notebooks at their natural size and tile them?
well,
They might be different sizes.
and they might be different sizes for pointless reasons. They typically are, actually. It just
Okay. Well, I mean, make them both the size of the first one or something then. And I think that given that you have some information on what size somebody made it, you might as well use that information.
Okay, but we will have to, if it's too wide, we will have to bring it down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No problem with that. Practical point. I think we're going to want Jeremy to drop in for a minute to talk about this, but in a few minutes.
I just joined, Stephen.
Okay. Let's have a quick look through some of the rest of it. I kind of would like to. I think there's just some design things that need to be updated here. I just think this doesn't quite look quite right. I think it needs. First of all, I don't think we need such a big thing up here. I think this is the theming. I think it should be in a color stripe or something at the top. I don't think it should use that amount of vertical space. I think here, I'm kind of thinking.
I do like the idea of clearly calling it out as a generated report, though.
Oh, I agree. I agree completely. I have no problem with that. But we have other generated reports and they don't use height to emphasize themselves.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They use a color stripe of some kind. When we look at any of the repository submission things and all this stuff. Second point is I'm pretty sure these headings should have some kind of background color or something. I just think this page looks very hard to understand. It doesn't look very structured.
Okay.
Because it has, I think, because it has, it's got all this different kind of things. All these things are so different, and I think it needs something to kind of, hang your eyes on or something. But let's just go on looking at more functionality stuff, and then we'll come back to this. Minor restyling character appearance. So what's this? This is.
So this is the vertical gray bars aligning the characters.
How should we think about this relative to sequence alignment? The sequence alignment function, diff versus sequence alignment.
Well, they provide
Diff.
the same data.
Yeah, I mean, diff, is implemented in terms of sequence alignment, and I think one might think of this as sort of a superset. It's kind of a glowed up version of sequence alignments.
Because it's nice. I mean, and I wonder if we can take the output from sequence alignment and automatically feed it into something because I mean, there's in sequence alignment, there's all kinds of options for details of how the sequence alignment should be done. And I think there's approximate sequence alignment and all kinds of things. Does that support it here?
Yeah,
yes, all the methods of sequence alignment are supported by diff.
Yeah.
All the options, I should say, of sequence alignment are supported by diff.
How do we do correspondence using, the BLAST algorithm and stuff like this? for genomic comparison. I don't know how we do that.
I don't either.
No,
So we should find that out.
I don't know anything about the BLAST algorithm. It's first I've heard of it.
Well, you see here under similarity rules, here it is.
Okay.
And that should be, by the way, a clear example on the sequence alignment. And also, if we're doing genomic data, there should be clear documentation paths from sequence alignment to diff. So if I do this thing and I say,
Well,
similarity
certainly
rules.
we have it the other way right now, which is that the diff documentation directly references sequence alignment. I can make sure to put some ties in the other direction as well.
Okay, so if I say similarity rules, arrow, blast here. Come on. Oh, wait a minute. Elements to compare? No. This is just wrong. Okay.
I'll look into it.
Okay, so you need to ask somebody from the bio team about this. Okay.
I understand.
Let's just get something that isn't wrong here.
Looks like sequence alignment doesn't support lists of rules as lists of options, which it probably should. That's the cause of that first message.
Okay, fine. Okay, so that's an incorrect feeding from. I mean, you could probably work around that for right now.
Yeah, right.
But I really do think this display is very nice. I don't know how much annotation. If have you looked at genomic sequence viewers?
Not in depth, no.
Okay, because there are all kinds of interactive things you can typically get with them.
Right,
Like
and this framework doesn't preclude us from building such in the
Yes,
future.
but I think that needs to be done in a coherent way with, I'm not quite sure.
This feels like something that could be shopped around for someone else to work on with
Sure.
And with Lou just kind of giving them the framework to slot into.
Yes, I agree. So ask, I think Michael or
Trott?
what's that? Yeah.
Michael Trott.
Yep. Yes, I think that's where you want to go with that. Okay.
There were
Where
some
does it
display
say
issues
first and second? I don't understand where first and second came from here.
from the ether.
Okay, that's not good.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
The same place old notebook and new notebook came from. I mean, we need some, left and right.
At first and second, at least can clearly refer to the first argument and second argument of diff. It's unclear what other what other ways you can denote something that clearly maps back to the code.
Well, other than just an iconized version of the thing itself.
If they're sufficiently similar, they're
yeah. And also the width of this is a bit annoying. It doesn't resize, I assume.
Stretches to the window. And will shrink with the window.
Is there any reason not to add a resize widget to it, Lou?
No. I'll have to think about it's probably doable.
Okay. I agree with that by default stretching to the window, but if we can give the user additional control over it, why not?
I think these unified marker things are kind of cool. Whether that's the right name for them, I don't know.
I mean, it is essentially array plot, but exploded into atoms, so to speak.
I understand. I mean, I think it's what should it be called? I mean, unified markers doesn't really do anything for me.
By the way, going back to the markers. So those do effectively have a frame around them, although the frame
I know
is,
they do. I know.
yeah.
I know. It's nice. I mean, if it got long, oh, I see. It just elides here. Okay, let's. What could we call this? Iconic something or other? What could we call it?
Um,
Why did you call it unified markers?
Well, unified because
both
the two
things
things
together.
are combined, and markers because I just wanted some, mark, some tick.
I like the word map somehow. Differences map or something. How do you feel about that? I mean, it is kind of a map. It's showing where the differences are.
Yeah.
it's sort of related to stuff we've done in summary boxes, in some summary boxes.
What about summary map?
I like summary. Map, my brain goes to the function rather
Yeah,
than
okay.
the atlas.
Um,
But perhaps it's okay here because we don't usually use map as a second. No, we have map
right. Well,
block, yeah.
summary chart, summary. I think charts, it makes it sound like it'll be too elaborate. I mean, we've got alignment chart here. So we could conceivably use summary chart. I don't like summary chart. They seem to be going in two opposite directions. I think this should be called combined or something rather than unified. Oh, you've got a combined there. What the heck does that do?
Thumbnail. What about using the term thumbnail?
For which? Unified?
For markers.
For markers.
They're not thumbnails. You can't see anything inside them. You can't see what they are.
But it's a thumbnail of the overall diff. It's not a thumbnail of the
know.
content, but it's a thumbnail of the
I don't
diff.
like that because I think it's a we could say thumbnail summary.
Those two words they're fighting against one another, I think.
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry. What summary and for which?
He had said
for this
thumbnail
one.
summary.
Yes, for the icon thing.
Yeah.
Summarized.
Summarized what? Just summarize the adjective.
Summarized diff.
Everything's a diff. You know, if this menu had a little iconic picture of what these things were, the words would be much less important.
I don't think you could fit a decent icon to differentiate most of these.
All right. Are you sure? I mean, it would be an icon, true icon, not a representation of it.
I understand, but how are you going to, fit side by side versus unified in a comprehensible manner in an icon in that size?
Okay. All right.
What
are we going to do with first and second? And by the way, here, I don't like the fact that those appear to be like, content that's along with this other stuff because they're in the same box as the content.
Well, they used they had used a different background to indicate that before, but
why don't you take them out of that box?
Yeah, that's a reasonable thought.
I would do the following. I would say, if you're going to do this, make them gray and italic and outside the background, outside the box, and then I think it'll be sort of okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, so we're still not happy with the names of those things.
The
I
first
see.
and
I see.
second, you mean?
I see you're using the royal we.
Do these elide when they get really long?
No, they word wrap, as they do here, as they have done here.
Yeah. Is that right? Probably it's right. So that's the alternative to first and second. So this is,
Well, when there's something else to put there, right? When
Yeah, I
files have
understand.
file names or paths. Or,
so my question is, if this went italic gray, does that make sense? Or is it only italic gray when it's a made up word? See what I'm saying? If we actually know something, should it be bold and all that kind of thing, as it is here?
Hmm.
I think it should be more clearly a header. It should be outside the framing.
Fine.
I don't
But
have
should
a
it be
strong
bold?
opinion. I don't have a strong opinion about that.
You know what you put in. So really, I think it can be lighter. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've still got these names to come. Okay, so hold on. Let's just look at this. Oh my gosh, what is this?
So most of this we don't really need to go into. The point, evaluate one of those just to see. The point being that before we weren't consistently producing failure objects, now we are, and we're avoiding kind of garbage output. And
Yeah, okay.
you probably don't want to see all the details of it, but you get the general point.
Okay, what is this?
There was also a request to be able to extract the sequence alignment from a diff object, and this now works.
Good.
And array plots had been sort of isolated in just a few places, and now
No,
they're
that's
more
nice.
widely used.
And what determines the size of it? Default? It looks smaller than the default.
Yes, it is smaller than the default. I forget how I do that. I'm sorry.
I would just go with the default array plot size. I mean, if you're asking for an array plot, you probably want the array plot.
Yeah. Okay.
And what about
So-
array plot options?
Unsupported at this point.
And I
Could I
don't
get
think
the
we. I
data
don't.
from the array plot?
I mean,
Slash input form.
No. I mean, really, so I can do my own array plot with different colors and all that kind of stuff.
Inaccessible.
I mean, would it make sense to have
Array
like
plot
something
data
like
or
array
something.
plot data?
I don't see why we shouldn't provide that. I mean, it seems like it could be useful to people. At least as a property, just like we have sequence alignment
Mhm.
from the diff object. Okay, let's have a quick look at these.
We've already seen granularity and input function a couple times.
What
I
does
don't think
input function mean?
it auto wraps each argument. So this is diffing genomic data of 381 with genomic data of 3813.
Why is that useful? I mean, why don't you just put it in there?
Well, then you have to type it twice.
And in some cases, right, we also have string arguments for automating certain things, right?
Yeah, these are very nice results. Diff style.
So by default, there's, these greens and reds are added automatically. You can add to them by using diff style. This adds bold and
What happens if I don't like that green? What happens if I'm red, green, colorblind or something?
So I don't have themes set up yet. You can turn the green off with the next option in the list, default diff style. And there's an example there that turns off the green and the red by turning off all the default styling. So you have complete control over it with the diff style.
I understand. It's a little weird, but
That's complete, and no, that's completely standard in the, at least in the front end world. Right? You have base style and default base style.
Diff include matches.
So up
Okay.
until now, go on, John.
Yeah, so the diff object elides a bunch of stuff by default. Diff include matches forces it to include everything, even if that means the diff object gets huge.
Okay. Diff ignore, diff alignment method.
Sorry, we didn't have examples for those. It's a bit of this agenda was put together at the last minute. I apologize for that. And we don't have the option pages written up yet.
Okay.
We will.
So-
It's
so
it's in our to-do list.
In brief, these are two options that affect notebook diffing. Ignore lets you do things like, say, you don't care about cell change times or cell styles or things like that. And diff alignment method indicates how two notebook
Yeah, I understand.
files should be
Yeah.
aligned. Yeah.
It was basically whether or not to use expression UUIDs to determine alignment.
Okay, but diff ignore, does that apply to anything other than notebooks?
Currently, no, but it could.
In principle, it seems like yes, it could, but it's not clear whether the currently supported data types, whether it makes sense for those. But maybe for some new, I mean, this list of data types we have, it's our intention to add more stuff in the future.
Yeah, okay.
And
Okay,
yeah.
so what is the result? I mean, what does diff ignore give you? In other words, what's the right-hand side of diff ignore?
It's a structured option that takes that. Hold on, let me send you a link.
Right. And certainly I could imagine a diff ignore goes to white space if you're doing a textual, right? If you're
Yeah, that's
diffing
a
two
good idea.
files.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Or new line, return new line. I don't know what we do with that. What do we do with return new line?
Yeah,
Or
I
is that
think
not a thing anymore? I don't know.
Well,
Did
yes,
the world modernize?
yeah,
It's still a thing.
It is a thing, and it would be. I think the place to cover it would be under white space. It's calling it out separately usually is,
Yeah.
I don't think interesting, but covering under white space is.
Yes.
Stephen, I dropped a link into chat. Linking to the DiffTools Packlet repository documentation for the precursor of diff ignore. The settings are the same if you look at details and options.
By the way, why is that? I've complained about this so many times. Why is that misaligned there?
That is a question for web people who are not here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
And
can't
also,
speak
why
to
is there
that.
no thumbnail image there? I've said this about 25 times.
Well, I don't think that Packlets have thumbnails, at least.
Yeah, well.
So
Okay.
you can say cell options, and that'll ignore all cell options. Or you could say ignore cell options, arrow, cell change times, comma.
Yeah, I get it.
size,
Okay, this
font.
looks okay. I mean, this is kind of we're chasing down more and more obscure things here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes,
okay.
but in the case of notebook diff, it will definitely be useful.
Yeah. Let's go back. So, by the way, are the people in the blog team and things like this, are they already using this?
I don't think that they've wired the Packlet into their workflow, and this isn't in the system context of regular nightly builds yet. It will be tonight probably.
I have gotten some buy-in from Yoshi. He seems quite keen on starting
yeah.
to use these things.
Yeah, very useful to his team. Do I need to look at the graphic design of diff 3?
The graphic design? No.
Yeah, I mean, how does it relate to these? What does
There's
diff3
three
become?
columns.
I see.
The thing you
Okay.
might be concerned about is the column titles, which you showed some concern last time, but they use
Yeah.
the standard, ancestor, ours, theirs sort of nomenclature.
I don't understand that. So let's look. If I
So
if I do this as
diff3
diff3,
diff3 gives two different sets of changes from a common ancestor.
okay, so if I do this and I say here range up to 18, for example, what the heck is our and there?
Yeah, so the usual way that this is consumed, particularly in the world of Git and other source control systems, is that you have a local set of changes, and now you're trying to merge an external set of changes in, but you're and these things have a common ancestor. So
Yeah,
the local changes are ours, and the externals
it's
is
absolutely
theirs.
incomprehensible in this particular case. I mean, just as you synthesized the first and second there, why
Well,
isn't
I
this
mean,
first, second,
wait,
third?
wait, but no,
It's
because
not.
here, right? I mean, here in
Because it's a forking
in
thing. It's
right,
asking relative to the common ancestor what happens.
exactly. So at least one of them is distinguished. Ours and theirs is a bit arbitrary. In fact, sort of depending on whether you're using a merge workflow or a rebase workflow, they'll be reversed in Git terminology. So, that is perhaps open to some debate, but right, we could call it maybe first change and second change rather than our changes and their
That's much
changes.
better. Particularly if we're using first and second above.
Yes.
Original, first change, second change.
Yeah, I'd be
Or
totally
first
okay.
changes, maybe.
Yep.
Original, first changes, second changes. And then we
Yeah.
keep first and second above.
Yeah, I
I'm
have
okay
no
with
violent opposition to that.
And, first and second makes sense because it's the order of arguments.
Yeah.
Okay, can we come back to, okay, we're looking at this. Oh, that only has side by side. Okay, so this has many more options here. Okay.
It's just a practical matter of getting everything. I mean,
Combined,
there's-
separate. Why is there a list around the two things here?
it's I'm not sure how to answer that. You have the differences indicated in the first and the differences indicated in the second.
Simple side by side.
So simple and side by side could probably be combined, and appearance elements could be used to distinguish between them. Putting the onus on the user to specify appearance elements when they want to add or remove them.
Why don't we just give them one thing that we think is reasonable, like this one here? Just call
Yeah.
it side by
Sure.
side.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
get
fine.
rid of the simple. And yes, we can have appearance elements, and if we all find that we want to use them a lot,
Yep.
so be it.
Yeah, and I mean, appearance elements is into the weeds as it should be.
Okay, look. Combined versus unified is incomprehensible. But I think the real difference is one is a vertical layout, the other is, an expression layout. Annotated expressions versus, a column, basically.
I'm sorry, can you show what combined is again? Because unified is, I mean, everybody should know what unified is.
I
Yeah.
wonder, let's see.
That's the
Annotated.
Well,
So
and in the
there's
string case, This is just, it looks like a single string with, I mean, just like this looks like a single list, yeah?
Why is unified something everybody should know?
Because that is a standard name that has existed for at least 3 decades, if not 4, in the world of diffing. And
Okay, fine.
every diffing tool has.
I'm not a differ.
Yes.
I mean, I haven't done a lot of
But that having been said, it's not obvious that unified would have produced a for a unified of diffing lists. It's not obvious that unified would produce the column view as opposed to the expression view.
I see.
But if it's something with new lines, then it's clear.
Right. If you're diffing text, it's pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, this is taking advantage of the fact that list diffing has a particular modality, which is different from diffing of other types.
Yes.
If we had a general expression diff, the general expression diff couldn't do this because it wouldn't know that we should treat lists as
so the question is
diffable
whether
elements.
Right. The question is whether this pull down could be different for different types of objects being diffed.
It absolutely can. In fact,
Okay.
it is.
Well, then I think we should add things that make it a lot clearer what's going on. I mean, I think, look, unified markers could be unified summary. Do you like the unified term?
Mm-hmm.
Side by side, this could be side by side summary. Unified summary, side by side summary. I think this will be sort of okay to begin with. I think we just have to try it. I'm just not sure. Combined. I mean, combined and unified are so bizarrely similar as terms.
Yeah.
Used.
What's used?
Used.
Used like the
F with an F. Fusing.
Oh, fused.
Fused.
So
Bound.
Say it again.
Bound.
Yeah. Okay. So unified here now, of course, doesn't show up in the string view. This doesn't make sense. So, I mean, does unified only show up for list? Are there other things that unified shows up for right now, Lou?
It shows up for notebooks.
Okay.
And does it show up for strings? Does not.
I mean, what it's doing is it's breaking out the individual elements and showing them in a column.
Yeah.
And it's the default view for a text file, for a line by line diff of a text file.
Look,
Okay.
I don't think we can solve this right now. I think it's okay. This is a slightly corner case of lists where they both show up. Combined and unified, if only one of them is showing up, it'll be just fine.
Well, if you want, we can take a whack at this offline and bring it back in a
Fine.
as a sub point for some other meeting.
That's fine. Let's take a look at the design here of the main of this thing here. Jeremy, did you have any thoughts?
More question. So if we minimize the header, I'm worried all these notebooks look exactly the same. The difference between, say, 5 of these is going to be hard to tell. How do we title these in a way
Well, I
are
mean, they're
unique.
all just notebook diff reports.
Right, but for maybe different notebooks.
For
No, I
different
know, but
notebooks,
that's okay. I'm only saying minimize this header here.
No, that makes sense. So stripe, smaller logo, more like our other templates. That makes perfect sense.
so
Okay.
the things being diffed are also reflected in both the window title and in that information section, the names of the notebooks.
Okay.
Which maybe that's insufficient, but I wanted to point it out.
That light blue is pretty hard to read for text.
This one, which one? This one here?
Yeah. What is that indicating?
It's indicating there was an edited cell as opposed, and it would presumably have green
It's
and red.
it's trying to match the color that's being used that you see
Yeah.
being used in the summary.
Well, you know what? Why not just have that be in the dingbat? Maybe that's not enough.
It also helped break up the line. I mean, to easily, ignore the
Well,
details if
okay,
you
the
want
other thing
to.
we can do is darken it a bit for that. You know, it's
That's what I
still
think.
blue.
Same color, but just darken it a bit. Yep.
Okay. This was
Some
a
weird-
weird example to give. What's that?
Is this just pulling the cells with their natural indentation? So under old and new?
Yeah.
Yeah, I should, these are notebooks that I've added to, for examples. I should just fix up those notebooks so that it doesn't use, styles that
Yeah.
are going to look odd in the default notebook. In the
Yeah,
default
yeah.
style sheet.
The bad margins. That's another
Yeah. Yeah.
issue coming from the documentation notebook.
Okay, we're closing that up, which we
Yep.
absolutely need to do.
Yep.
Did we already say we're going to use old version or something here? Old.
Old cell, new cell.
Okay.
Or old
Old
colon.
new colon, diff.
New
Oh,
colon,
right,
yeah.
right. Should we do the same at the top with the notebook names? Old notebook and new notebook is currently what's there.
Yeah, we should just say old and new in the same
Okay.
style as this.
All right.
I mean, who cares that it's a notebook? It might be a text file, right?
Not in
except
the
this-
notebook diff report.
I see. Then it could be old notebook, new notebook. But notice that you're doing the coloning thing there anyway.
Yes, yes.
And I don't know whether the fact that this is a summary here, and then these are heading for old new diff, and I don't understand why are these blue?
They don't need to be.
Right,
Yeah,
so
I
that's
actually,
confusing.
I couldn't put my finger on it, but I have to say that the old new diff headings, were a little visually confusing to me as well. I think we could do a little bit better here.
Well, maybe they have to have stripes behind them.
I mean, when you have
But-
more than one of these open at the same time, it can be confusing. I use the color to mitigate that, but yeah, I agree that maybe a stronger graphic design
Something
language
that
could be used.
clearly demarcates, the different sections. I mean, we do have the bullet there, but
Right, but that's
it's
not clear.
it's
I
not
mean,
enough.
when you open this up, then this becomes a little sub-report
Yeah,
about that particular text edit thing. And those are kind of like subheadings, but they certainly can't be blue the same as, I mean, would they be pink if that was a pink heading there?
Yeah.
That's crazy. In my
Well,
opinion.
luckily Jeremy's here
Yeah.
and Billy.
I really need to go because I've got another actually live stream meeting coming right up. And I need to so can we wrap this right now? And-
yeah. Well, I mean, so just in summary, I mean, it's our intention to, this is going in the system context.
Great.
We'll
It looks
defuturize
great.
documentation.
Make it experimental though.
You want to keep it experimental?
I
Okay.
want to keep it experimental. Because
Okay.
there are a bunch of things that are going to change. There's a bunch of formatting that's going to change, a bunch of names that are going to change. But people can absolutely use it.
Okay. So and we'll circle back around when convenient on some of these smaller points.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I think this has been useful.
Yep. It's very nice functionality.
Thank you
Well
all.
done.
Okay.
Okay.